All right, we are live, Carl. We're starting early.
All
I'm
right, cool.
live from the airport here in Chicago, and you are live from your
Yeah,
house
from
in New
my
York.
house is exciting. Yeah, for sure.
So far, zero people watching.
Is
We
that
started
right?
a little,
Nice.
yeah, we started a little early today, so
Yeah, we
we're
got
six
five
minutes
on
early.
YouTube. It's on five watching now. It says on YouTube.
Oh, sweet! Hi,
Two of those are
everybody.
probably us though, so it's really only three. But
So, can you guys hear us?
Nate's
Okay.
logged in four times, so
Yeah, it
that's part
drives
of
the
it too.
algorithms.
Yeah,
It's all about getting more viewers.
cool.
So, yeah, my
Yeah, so
flight
you
changed.
kind of lead. I liked your interview with Joe because you kind of had like I don't know, you always had something to say and kept the conversation going. So that's
It'll
good
be
for
the
me if
same
it goes
thing.
that way.
We were going
Yeah.
to go over how much money you're making and how many times you count it every night.
Exactly. Yeah, my fingers get all dry and cut up
You
just from
swim in it
counting
like
money.
Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, exactly. No,
DuckTales.
I
Did you
wish
ever
I
watch
did.
DuckTales?
Unfortunately, with the e-commerce stuff, you don't deal with a lot of cash. You know what I mean? You're just
That's true.
it's all just it's in the loop. But
So we are here with Carl Nylen. Now he owns the RO bucket, which I estimate is probably one of the number one selling products. You've probably sold more ROs than anybody. I would say probably combined due to the size of your customer.
yeah,
I know that'll
maybe, and
make people
especially in like
twitch
a
and
short
stuff.
period of time. Yeah, well, it's tough because it's like these big guys are selling $100,000 ROs, and it's like they just can't sell the volume of those that I can because they can't provide the service on that many big
But you
machines.
touch
But
way more people. I
yeah,
thought it was
I definitely
interesting.
probably have a lot more customers. Yeah,
You sell hundreds of RO buckets a year.
yeah, and the bulk of that is between January 1st and April 1st. Yeah, and it's like it's exponential, like how quickly the season picks up and then slows down. Like as soon as the run stop, literally, like I won't sell a bucket for a week, which is like you know crazy when you think of how busy we are during peak season, where you're moving
When's your
20 or
busiest
30
time
a
of
day.
year? When's your busiest time of
Um,
year?
Usually when February break hits and the kids get home from school, and like the least opportune times, or like March is busy, and all three of my kids' birthdays are in March, so March is super busy in
So if
terms
they get
of.
you to go to a movie, you're like sleeping during the movie.
Yeah, well, exactly, because like, well, before I quit my job, I was a teacher for 15 years, so I quit my job 2 years ago to do this full time. So back then it was real tough because I was working all day, and then doing this, fulfilling orders at night, and I'd be up at like 2 a.m. some nights, like because I'm just kind of anal about like customer service and getting stuff out like that day, like and like it's like if there's like five orders I don't get to, like I'm just miserable the next day. I just really want to get everything out just for my own kind of mindset. So once I quit that job and I'm doing this full time, I kind of have a little more leeway because I can ship all day, and then also I'm still going out at night shipping till 11 12 o'clock every night during the season. So
What was the subject you were teaching?
I was a chemistry physics teacher.
What?
So yeah, so I got I did my undergrad at SUNY Oswego in New York State, and I did that in education. Then I got a master's in chemistry. I wasn't really sure I wanted to be a teacher, but my wife's a teacher as well, so the schedule kind of lined up really well. So we both
I don't know about
decided
you,
to do
Carl, but I was the dumbest in
it.
my
Yeah,
chemistry program. Like, if I didn't have Tiffany Goebel helping me, I never would have got through chemistry. Like,
yeah.
she saved my
Well, it's
butt.
funny because yeah, I started as like a history major all throughout college. Like I was going to be a social studies teacher, and then like I kind of got behind. And the funny story is like I got behind and I wasn't going to graduate in time, so I looked in the course catalog for the quickest masters you could get, like because I was already behind a year. So I looked for what masters I could get in 1.5 years, so I could still graduate in time and like not have to tell my parents that I wasn't going to get my masters in time. And like the chemistry major master's, which I didn't have a single course in, was 31 credits, and I could pull it off in like the right amount of time. Like going in with absolutely no chemistry background, didn't like chemistry, had no interest in chemistry. It was literally just I had to like pick something, and it turns out that like I love it and I liked it, and it was my career for 15 years, so it actually worked out really well. But I think that just kind of goes to show that like anything you pick in life, like you can make it work. You can get interested in it, if you're just that kind of person. So.
Did you take PChem?
Oh yeah, organic. My master's like segment was actually in physical chemistry, like separation, so like almost like RO type stuff and whatnot.
So you knew about membranes.
Yeah, I was doing that. I got into like biodiesel a lot when I was younger. I had like 4 cars that ran on biodiesel, and I heated my house on it and stuff. So I kind of get in these little niches where like I get obsessed with stuff for 5 or 6 years, and like this whole garage I'm using now was just all a big biodiesel processing facility. I made like thousands of gallons of biodiesel in here. So when the RO got big, all that stuff had to go, and I transferred all this over to make RO buckets. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. So
you made biodiesel.
yeah.
What isn't there? What's the chemistry in there? Isn't it like you got to wash it?
It's a lot like it's a lot like soap making. So you take vegetable oil, you heat it, you add methanol, and then that makes it. It breaks down the vegetable oil into glycerin and what's called methyl esters, which is like a thinner, more like a kerosene type byproduct. And then the glycerin, because it's water based, separates out, and then you have your biodiesel on top. Then you sprinkle water through it, and you can purify it and get all the residuals out of it. So,
Look at you,
yeah.
Heisenberg.
Yeah.
As soon as you said methanol, I think they made up a chemical in Breaking Bad. They call it. Remember methylamine? You're like,
yeah, they got off that train, right? I remember that.
Yeah, it's like this is not even a real chemical, but
no,
sounded good.
Yeah.
So you sell hundreds and hundreds of RO buckets every year, and what I found interesting and why I was interested in talking to you further is how many people ask you for referrals on an evaporator.
Yeah, I mean it's constant. It's hard to keep track because like I just get so many emails, but it's definitely a really common question. Like it's one of those questions I get so much that I should have like a shortcut in my phone where I can like type 3 letters and have it like come back with like a sentence saying we don't sell them, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean. It's like, and I get that for everything. Like people ask me if I sell bottles, people ask me if I sell caps. It's like, all the common things. It's like, people want a one-stop shop, I guess. And it's just
so
like,
you're going to have like 5 companies call you after this.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, I'd like to sell that stuff, but I barely have enough time, in the season to ship ROs out. And last thing I want to do is like throw in a pan order that I got to spend an hour dealing with. You know what I mean? So there's kind of like in the off season, like September to December and April to June, it'd be good.
I'm doing a live stream. You want to say hi to everybody? Say hi to everybody. She's been helping me out here.
Nice.
Yeah, please. Was she trying to get pizza? What's that? No, they just left it here. You say yes, more water? Yeah, please. So, I lost my train of thought there.
You were saying other equipment stuff.
I mean, you made me start thinking. So, about 2 or 3 years ago, I got into this for the wrong reasons, and I was trying to talk to some maple companies about. I said, "Man, I think I got this YouTube thing. I watch it in other industries. It really works." And crickets, man. Like, in fact, it was worse than crickets. It was probably mocking. People thinking whether or not I deserve it. It's not even a matter of deserve. So, as I've thought about it more and more, like I don't really want to. I want to promote independent companies. Like that's why I had Joe getting you on here. Clayton Christie from MES. He said he'll never do a Sapchat. He's not one for the camera.
Oh, really? No.
So then I started thinking about it. It's like I don't want to be in the equipment business, but I wouldn't mind partnering with guys like you, which I already am. Kind of like with this. Like you're not paying me for this, but I think if I start a little evaporator company. With another entrepreneur, I'm not going to be fabbing it. I'm just going to be promoting it on the channel by using it. I would rather do that.
Right. So,
looking back, I owe all those companies a thank you for saying
for not paying attention. Yeah.
Right. Oh, this isn't going to work. And it's like,
well, and that's the issue. And that's the issue when you go to companies like that, because it's like, that might not be the way the company is, but you don't know who you're talking to in that company, and that guy might not have any marketing experience or anything. You know what I mean? Because he's this guy or he's that guy. When you talk to these small companies like mine, like you're talking to the guy that does it all, so
Thank you.
they have a lot more interest in what you're saying because they're more in touch with that. Like if you talk to the guy in a big company that's just welding pans, he doesn't care about YouTube. He's just gonna go in one ear out the other.
I was telling Joe Landher about Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, and he had a book
Yeah,
called it was Jab 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 Right Hook, and it was about giving, giving, giving. If you just show up and say buy my stuff, it just is going to turn people off. They don't want to be sold to. It's like, why
yeah,
should I buy from you? And it's like why we don't like going to car dealerships because they literally
right.
have, you know, so much time with you. And what are they doing? Well, they're trying to sell to you.
Yeah,
So,
their ultimate goal is to sell you something. Yeah.
so the jab, 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 right hook, it's actually like jab, 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 like 200 times, and then ask, like because you've
Hmm.
earned it. So that's kind of why I wanted to do this YouTube channel was add value, create value, and then by giving and giving and giving, at some point I go, hey, I got this little 2x6 evaporator it's just one size, one model. I'm going to use it, and I will do that. But by providing all that content for years, then hey, you can also buy an RO bucket to go along with this little 2x6. You're adding value. You're adding
Yeah,
value.
yeah, for
But you
sure.
and I
Yeah.
were talking about how I'm always like, I think it's interesting that this is the first thing sometimes people buy, the RO bucket. But you and I were talking about people who start with pans and fire, make a little brick arch. And
Hmm.
it's almost like they're ruined because they're thinking in terms of, well, I'm just going to add more firewood. What's that?
Yeah.
That's free, right? Time's free.
Right. Right. And my wood's free. Everyone like I get that a lot too. Like, well, I was like, well, how much do you pay for fuel? They're like, well, my wood's free. It's like, I mean, it is, but it isn't. You know what I mean?
Firewood, listen, natural gas is cheaper than firewood.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
It is.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's like people like making syrup, and I understand people like splitting wood too. It's like if that's your hobby, then I guess you can call it free. You know what I mean? But
But I figured you sell time in a bucket. That's what you sell.
yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Do you know
Yeah.
where I came
Yeah.
up with this? Um,
Jim Croce.
no, time in a bottle. But that's good. That's good. Time in a bottle. If I could put time. Yeah, no, Jim Croce. Yeah. No, it was there was a company that was making cologne, and they're like, we don't sell cologne, we sell hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's smart. They're not selling a product, they're
Yeah.
selling an idea. Well, you're actually
Right.
selling time. That's what I say. You're
Yeah.
selling
Well, and a lot of
time.
my customers are like weekend warriors, like they have full-time jobs, and they're probably even making good money, and it's like and that's why like I get a lot of emails too, like our product isn't perfect, like stuff goes wrong, and it's like you get emails like it's the end of the world, because like they have a leak in their RO or it's not drawn in because they didn't push the hose in enough. And it's like, from a customer service standpoint, like I get that. Like, you bought this, you paid good money for it, and you expect after working all week and getting excited about it, you expect to turn it on and work. And if it doesn't work, like I can see why you're going to be upset. And it's like, and that's why I try to get back to people right away. Like every minute is just another minute they're going to be frustrated and think you have a bad company. So like I just get really anal about it because you're dealing with people that aren't in a position where they just want to set it down for a couple of days until they hear back from somebody. Like that's not why they bought it, and that's not why they need it.
When you look at an RO, I don't care what size, it looks complex. And I always try to just tell people when I'm giving tours, hey, man, it's this simple. It's just like the thing in your door of your refrigerator. It's just you stick your cup in there and you're getting pure water. Well, we use it backwards. I always tell
Hmm.
people one thing goes in, two things come out. It's that simple. Don't look at everything else.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. And it's like without research and stuff, like our systems are super simple, and it's like there's not a lot to go wrong, which is like usually like 90% of the time I can get people going over the phone. They don't even need parts or anything. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not, like what I built isn't proprietary. Like the system, like what's proprietary with what I have is like my customer service and like a few little key details in the system that set it apart from like what else is out there. You know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, people have been using RO for 80 years. It's not anything new.
You think about the people who spend time building one. I think they enjoy that, right? They're tinkerers. They
Yeah.
enjoy building. I'm not going to pay for that. I mean, you can do this to infinitum. Like I was going to buy a car, but instead I built one. Like
Yeah,
out
I
of
know.
all the
Well, yeah,
pieces,
yeah,
like it gets
exactly.
to you can
Yeah.
go that you can go too far. How much is
Right.
your
It depends
time
on your
worth?
skill level. Yeah, it depends on your skill level. Like, yeah, that's like I've thought of that before too. When people say that online is like a dig to like the RO bucket, like it's cheaper to build it yourself. Like I thought the same thing. Like, yeah, it's cheaper to build a car yourself too, but like 7 years later, like I
That's kind
restore
of
cars. Like
I
I
see
restore
those.
cars you can buy the parts for and you can get everything and it still takes 7 years to do a car. You know what I mean? So like it's not
I
the
see
same.
those comments all the time, and I'm like, oh, it's the wrong. Like it's yeah, you're saving whatever, a couple $100, but you have time in it.
Yeah.
You know, you're
Yeah, if
ordering
you're not looking to
parts
save time, why are you building an RO in the first place? It's kind of like it's like a
with
catch
all
twenty
of
two.
that
Like
time.
if you're gonna build it yourself,
Mm.
just boil. Yeah, exactly. But
With all
that's
that
why like our
time,
kits are popular too. Like we sell the kits, so like if you want to be a do it DIYer, like we'll sell you a kit with all the parts. That's like still a better value than the stuff you're gonna get on Amazon, and you
and
can
you're
still put it
probably
together
buying
yourself.
some of these parts by high enough quantities where you're actually getting it cheaper and passing it on.
Everything, yeah. There's nothing I buy that isn't less than like 1,000 units. Like that's where all my like that's the only way I make any money. You know what I mean? Like when I run out of stuff, like if I run out of pre-filters and I have to buy them by the case, like I'm losing money. I sell pre-filters so cheap. So like I really have to time all my inventory, make sure I have stuff because if I don't, I either have to take it down or I have to buy it like locally and just get hosed on it because yeah, like my stuff isn't that expensive. Like I don't charge a lot for it.
So we got some guys on here asking questions, some comments. So Jeff Outdoors, he asked, "Great chat, guys. I just got the new 2x4 H&M evaporator a few months ago. For the upcoming season, I've been eyeballing a small RO while I work up more taps. That's what's going to happen, Jeff. You got a bigger, evaporator, and now you're going to need more taps. And then when you get more
Yeah,
taps, you need
just a
you need
circle,
an
man.
RO bucket. It'll change your life, man. Like, what would be a good size for Jeff?
What's he got? 2x4. I don't know. That's
Is it?
probably a flat pan.
I'm guessing, Jeff. Is that a flat pan? I'm not sure.
So he's probably doing like 10 gallons an hour. I mean, if you wanted to get into it, like an RB10 for a kit for 425 would get him going, and then he could upgrade that to a 24
How
gallon per
many
hour.
people, Carl, buy an RB10 and go crap and like instantly just buy another one because it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've had people upgrade them before I even shipped it. Honestly, I've had emails of like a day goes by and they ask if they can upgrade it, and honestly, usually it's already shipped out, so it's like a bummer because now they got I would have put it in for them, but now they gotta just ship it because it already went out the door. But
I'm a duplication guy. Like I'd rather have, you have the RB15. Is the RB20 the one that's got 5 membranes?
that's got four, and then the 25 has five.
Okay, so I'm the kind of guy that would buy, two RB15s just
Yeah,
so I always have one running. I can clean them, alternate. Like
yeah, no, yeah. I got a lot of people that do that, run two systems. They didn't buy them the same time, but they buy them like 3 years down the road instead of upgrading. It's cheaper just to add on another system. Yeah. I've had people buy two of the single posts right out the gate just because they're cheaper than all the other manufacturers. It's cheaper to get two of mine than it is to get one of the other ones.
have
And
you?
then, like
Do
you
you
said,
sell
yeah,
these on Amazon?
I don't know.
Hmm. Have you
It's kind
thought
of like a
about doing that?
Pandora's. Yeah, it's kind of like a Pandora's box. Like, I don't know. You sort of lose the. I don't know. People don't think the product's as good. I think when it's on Amazon, so I don't really want to venture there. I guess.
So explain to me.
Yeah.
You and I were texting a little bit about like in the last I want to say 10 years. Just thinking about how easy it is to find things on Amazon and how like the dealers, their value as dealers, like people are starting to figure out how to buy direct so much cheaper.
Yeah. Well, that's like, and a lot of that comes from China because like, the only way the U.S. is going to compete with China is if these U.S. companies start selling to consumers the way the Chinese sell to consumers. Because like a $1 billion Chinese company will sell 5 units to some guy in Fulton, New York. Like they don't care, because it's a sale. But in the U.S., a big company isn't even going to talk to someone that wants to buy, a 53 footer full of goods. It's just the way this country's been doing business for the last
That's
100
interesting.
years.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's a European model too. I think the European model is similar.
Yeah, and that's why like everyone says U.S. costs are high. It's like the reason we're high is because everything in the U.S. is marked up 2 or 3 times because you're not getting it from you're not getting it wholesale. You're not paying wholesale prices. You're probably paying a dealer price that bought it from another dealer who bought it wholesale. So you're already marked up, 20 and 30%. So
I went to a conference last week for Alex Hormozy, which is he's a personality I like following. It's just good content. He owns acquisition.com. And, you know, I was sucked in and then I attended, like it's literally a Tom Sawyer deal where you're like paying for them to evaluate
mhm,
your business. And what they'll do is this is how they like acquire companies. I'm not interested in selling my business, but I'm interested in how like businesses are valued. And I just like the guy. I watched all of his YouTube videos. And what I learned about software, like how profitable software was, like I was the
mhm,
only like farmer dude there that is in the ag industry. Everybody's there. They were in software, the service
yeah,
industry. And I just couldn't believe the markups for like software, like 80%
yeah,
margin. And it's just totally different. But you're talking more of the retail distribution model of, buying something and then in volume
right.
and then reselling it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
just
then
it,
and another reason it's expensive is because it's been trucked 7 times, and like every time it changes hands, it costs money, and it's like so that cost gets cut. That's carried on to the final person that buys it. So
I really think in the maple industry, the dealers that are buying syrup and reselling it to somebody like me are going to be the dealers that are in the best position because they're adding some more value to their farmer than just selling them
right,
filters and they're getting something else.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
I agree.
in the end, that's where it's going to go. What else would be helpful, Carl? I know I wanted to mention a couple things. I was talking to Clayton Christie, and MES is running an interest-free sale on vacuum pumps. He's got 0% financing, no money down for 24 months on the GVS oil vein pumps, the Atlas Copcos. He's got 0% 36 months on the DZS claw pumps. And I just couldn't believe, like, I don't think people know this. Like, any other equipment dealers or equipment companies out there running 0% financing? I don't know if
Not
any.
that yeah, I don't know because
Are
I
you doing that, Carl?
my guy, like a lot of my people that it's like I don't think I sell an RO to anyone that would need a finance something
Yeah,
that expensive, just because like how much are those Atlas Copco pumps? Like 5, 10
thousands.
grand?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah, so it's like, I mean, like I've had customers call me from like those like third party loan places, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like they need an invoice and I'll do it. I got no issue doing anything like that. But in terms of like me offering any financing, it's like, it's not that like I don't want to help people, but it's like,
It's
I
not
don't
worth
know.
the paperwork.
I don't want to take advantage of people either and like mark my product up so I can pretend
Well,
I'm
he's
like
actually
doing
got
0%.
an outside firm that's doing this. So he said it's
Yeah,
a
yeah, like a
neighbor.
leasing company.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like they're doing it and 0%. But I want to let the people watching know that MES, you can go to MES, their
that's cool.
website, and
Yeah, yeah.
Clayton's got inventory on vacuum pumps that he'll sell some to you guys at
Nice.
0% financing. And then more comments. Greg Holzel says, "Hey guys, been boiling for 4 years now and just started with I started with an open pit cooker. This guy's got to be from Wisconsin." He said cooker. Now
Yeah.
just 12 by 24 Sugar Shack. Well, I don't know. He said Sugar Shack because that'd be a cookhouse in Wisconsin. And looking to purchase my first RO, I'm eyeing the single post from you. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
interesting.
a good system. He got told by. Yeah, open pit cooker. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much sap you're getting and how quick you're boiling off, but whenever I get sizing questions, it's like people kind of come at it the wrong way. Like, they'll tell me how many taps they have, but taps are kind of irrelevant. It's really how quick you're boiling off, and if you want to keep up with that rate or have to like process the day before. So like I like to come into it more of like if you're boiling 20 gallons an hour and you just want to feed your pan, you want to get an RB 25 because that'll make 20 gallons an hour. It's super simple. It's really irrelevant how many taps you have because you could have 1,000 and the RO is still going to keep up with your rate limiting, your rate limiting step. So,
Carl
because
sells
let's like,
time in a bucket. Time in a bucket. Just like Jim Croce.
yeah, exactly. So yeah,
Carl
size it to,
sells
I would
time.
say figure out what your panel boil and then buy an RO that'll keep up with that. And then if you want to process anything ahead, you can sort of step down a size and get something a little bit smaller. So.
Let's see. Dan from Two Guys Timber Framing says it's just that simple. That's what I learned from making a timber frame with that guy. He makes it look simple. It's not as simple.
Yeah, well, when you get good at something, I guess
Yeah, he
everything's
makes it look simple.
simple.
I'm
Yeah.
like, you don't show us like the other 150 steps. So somebody's up on here selling an RO for you. So Greg started off with an H at HT
Oh,
R20
the
kit,
R20 kit.
going single post.
Oh, God, that's the same guy.
Divided
He must.
temp.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same guy. He's got a cooker.
Yeah, he looks like he's
But
trying to pick between the R20 and the single post. Yeah, and then we have the
I
two
got
single
you.
posts too. We have the 60 gallon per hour. That'll make 30 gallons of concentrate, and then we have the 80 gallon per hour, which will make 40 gallons of concentrate. So they just have different pumps. So
What is your number one selling unit?
well, before we made them upgradable, it was probably the RB15, which is the biggest bucket we sell. Since we made them upgradable, the RB5 is the most sold unit, but it's also the most upgraded unit because now people can just sort of get into the cheapest RO and then upgrade it to the 15 for the same cost as it would be to buy the 15. It's actually cheaper to buy a 5 and upgrade it to a 15 than it is just buy a 15. So that's our most popular model now because it kind of like gets people's feet wet. For $370, you can get a cheap RO and add on to it, for the next 2-3 years.
See what else he says. Oh, Jeff, he has a divided pan with 100 taps. So it is a 2x4 flat pan for the 100 taps. Yeah, an RO, it just depends, Jeff, if you just want to burn firewood and waste time, or you could buy time in a bucket. You could buy time in a bucket, Jeff. Do you have any
Yeah.
plans on expanding your store? Any upcoming releases and items?
Yeah, good question. I try to put one new product out a year. So like this year it was our new, and Sap Spy asked about this too. So the new product this year is our new filter, which so it was like 3 years in the making. I wanted to roll this product out last year, but I didn't get enough time to test it. I actually didn't even change it much since last year when I came up with it. But yeah, so we have a new filter system now. It's like between a vacuum filter and a filter press. That uses a pump, a low pressure, high temperature pump to force the syrup through sort of a proprietary filtering unit that I came up with. It uses diatomaceous earth, and I see someone's asking what that does. So I'll talk about that too. So it uses DE just like a filter press would use, or even like a vacuum filter sometimes. So what DE does is DE basically takes your filter and adds like a
Layers.
1,000 times the surface area onto that filter. So a filter that would normally clog with after like a cup of syrup is now going to last like 6 to 8 gallons because as it starts plugging, more DE attaches to the surface and it gives it more little canals and pathways for the syrup to flow through so that it can still get through the filter. So,
Now,
and
do
yeah,
you
there's
keep
two grades.
agitation? Do you keep agitation in that DE, or do you kind of get it up into
No,
a solution?
yeah, it's like a colloidal dispersion. So once it's distributed, gravity can't act on the DE and pull it to the bottom because the syrup is dense enough and the surface tension between the DE and the
I mean, it
syrup
will over
is such
time. I
that it
can.
won't settle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it'll
won't
settle
settle
over like a
immediately.
month. It'll settle. Yeah,
Right.
it'll take a long time. Like if you even looked a day later, you'd probably just see a little bit on the bottom. It wouldn't even settle that quick. So. But yeah, there's two types of DE. There's a food grade DE, which is the one you actually don't want to use. Food grade DE isn't like it's not baked, it's not calcified, so the 3D structure isn't like this. It's just nice and round. And that's like what you put in your garden or like you eat it as a supplement. So you don't want to use that. You want to use filter ADE like they use in pool filters, but the DE we use is NSF certified. So your pool DE probably isn't an NSF certified DE, even though it's probably made in the same factory. It's just
Right.
not inspected and given that NSF label. So that's what makes it food grade, and that's what that's why we can use it. So
And I had another question for you. I forgot. What else? Oh, somebody mentioned the Wisconsin. He's never heard of the cook. I don't know. I've been to a lot of sugar houses, and they call them cookers, cookhouses, and they're cooking. That's just I don't know. Maybe you're closer to like UP or something, and maybe they don't call it that. I have no idea. I just find it a
maybe a
regional.
regional thing.
It's a
It could be a
regional
regional
thing.
thing. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
One of my syrup buyers had mentioned, I think this is good for the Wisconsin folks. Andy Humphrey bought a lot of syrup for me, and he's going to do it again. He called me with some rumors that I wasn't going to buy syrup in Wisconsin anymore, and I'm like, no, no, I never said that.
That's a
But
rough
this
rumor.
happens
Yeah,
all
you
the
don't want
time. This happens all the time. A big producer in Vermont called me, or he sent me a text. He's like, "Hey, I heard you lost all the business at Costco," and I was like, "Holy crap, that's
news to
really
you, huh?
scary because I didn't even have it."
Oh, there you go. Nice. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, I never even had it. It's like, holy cow, I lost something I
yeah.
didn't even know. Like
There
the
was a
rumor
rumor
mill.
floating around like 4 years ago at some trade show. Like it came up that like CDL or Leader were like looking to buy out our O bucket. It's like there's just like it's just never gonna happen, man.
Well, it would make
Like
sense if they wanted your customer list, or like I
I
could see
mean,
it being
yeah, like
attractive for them.
right, yeah, but there's nothing here. It's like there's nothing here for them. It's like it's just me. You know what I mean? Like if I was having these made in China and shipped over, like then it's something they can take over. But it's like I've handmade every unit that goes out the door. Like if someone's on here and they bought an RO bucket, like it's 100% chance I made it. Like I've made every single bucket that has left this garage, and I've shipped it, and I've taped it, and I've printed the label. It's like there's not a more USA made product than like what we're making,
I mean,
And
it's
it's like
you,
we
right?
still get
You're
dinged because and like we still buy stuff from China, but like you still get dinged with like customers. Like every once in a while I'll get usually your stuff's made in China. It's like it's hard to get away from that. Like I hate to break it to you, but there's nothing you're gonna get in the United States
well.
that all
I
comes from
remember
the
that
U.S.
during the automotive thing, where I think Tesla is the most United States made vehicle.
Yeah,
More than Ford, Chevy, and GM. There's more parts in a Tesla that's made in America than the
yeah,
other manufacturers.
right, yeah. And it's like where do you draw the line? Because some of those parts they're saying came from the U.S. have subparts that came from China. You know what I mean? Like origin's a
Sure,
really
sure.
tough thing. Origin's a really tough thing to sort of lay
Made
out.
by Carl.
Yeah, exactly.
He puts time in a bucket. Did you get? I did. I got 12 loads, and I think Andy's still sending me some. I wanted 24, but we ended up getting 12.
How big's a
Um,
load of syrup?
it's 40,000 pounds. It's about
Yeah,
3,800 gallons. It's not going to shock me that at some point we'll probably, buy half. Like it's not going to end.
yeah,
The
that's cool.
Wisconsin maple syrup market, there has been no farmer in the maple industry that has had the lowest bulk price than the Wisconsin maple farmers. It's just unreal. And last
Good.
year was the first year that their bulk price was on par with the Northeast. In fact, it went up a little bit further than that. And that's a good thing.
Yeah,
It's a good thing.
Wisconsin and Minnesota are probably like there's a ton of small producers. They're probably our two biggest states that I sell
Where do
to.
you sell a lot of your RO buckets? Like what states do you ship?
Well, I mean, I shipped a ton of states. Like I had ordered in Tennessee today.
Really?
Virginia, yeah, like it goes more southern than a lot of people think, but the most common would be like New York, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Those are probably like the big ones. Pennsylvania. Um, I get like Connecticut, Massachusetts just aren't really that big, but I do get a lot of orders from there considering the size of the state. But
And then you have some dealers, quite a few in like Ontario.
yeah, I try to get one dealer like in every state. So I have Missouri Maple Supply, and they're over by like Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Right.
So like they're our only Michigan dealer. I have an Ontario dealer, Sam Burgeon in Elmer, Ontario, and he's awesome. He sells a ton of ROs for me. And those new filter units, he's moving those like crazy. We don't really have a big dealer in New York. We have like a couple little guys I work with locally where they just like to put stuff on the shelf. But we had a dealer in Ohio for a while. I have a dealer in Minnesota in Taylor's
Do you have
Falls,
anybody in
John.
Wisconsin?
I don't yet. No. There's a guy I met at a trade show. I'm gonna call, and hopefully get something going there. But and it's
Yeah,
like it's not that I don't want dealers, but it's like you know, there's not a lot of skin in the game for dealers because people can go on my website and buy it off the website, and it's like I don't want to tick dealers off either because they buy stuff from me and then it's hard for them to sell it because
sure.
it's a different game than CDL. So people aren't buying really straight from CDL, so you have to go to a dealer. But with CDL, like dealers compete with each other, and they're like, I don't want that either. So I don't want two dealers in Michigan, and they're both like making 5% because they're cutthroating each other. So
I could
from
see
that
somebody
aspect too,
doing.
I try to just get one.
I could see science teachers being all over this. I could see somebody like in like the Columbus area. How many people would get into hobby maple production, and how many school systems and the population.
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
see
No,
teachers
I
doing
sell a
this.
lot. Like, yeah, I sell a ton of schools, like an enormous amount of these units to schools, and like we do the whole paperwork process where we get a PO and we ship it out. Yeah, there's a
I
lot of
mean,
like
you and I
short.
were texting before this Sapchat live that we were like, I was telling you about how I have to run the water in my facility through an RO for two reasons, but predominantly it's so I'm not putting the minerals into my boiler. I want to actually
Yeah,
pull the minerals out. And we were talking about how to do it, and I thought, man, that'd be a cool project for you and I.
yeah, yeah. Well, you could save your RO water during the maple season. That's the cheapest way to do it.
Well, I'm going backwards.
Stockpile
I'm
it.
going back in time. I'm like Benjamin Buttons, but the maple. I'm
Yeah.
a Benjamin
Well, that's why
Buttons
I told
maple guy.
you got to build a water tower, and then you can just store it all year.
Do what I want.
Yeah.
Let's see, Carl. Have you thought about getting some ROs into the countryside hardware, which is in
Yeah,
DeRuyter?
DeRuyter. Yeah, I know them.
DeRuyter.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not like I said, I'm not opposed to it. But yeah, I've got no
That
issue.
must be near
We
you.
got a guy. Yeah, it is. It's not far. We have a guy in Cato, Rick Chase, Brett Road Maple. He's got some of our units on the shelf. Malin Hoover down like Finger Lakes area has a bunch of our stuff too. But yeah, I mean, country. It doesn't hurt for someone to have them on a shelf, and it's like we do a little discount to dealers and stuff. So, uh,
So Trevor just asked. Well, he asked two questions. Did the totes turn out from Andy? Yes. We like the tote process. It's working well. And now we've got a system where we're going to be bringing totes from one of my customers after they use them, brand new. We're going to bring them and put them into the circulation just to keep it moving with fresh totes. And something gets a little dirty on the outside or something, we'll sell it to a firewood guy or to a sap guy. They want to do the work. And then he asked, am I cooking this year? I hope so. I hope so. But it's going to be like caveman. It's going to be, it's not going to be. I'm good. Thanks, Trina. I'm good.
you're
It's
not
going
gonna
to
have any
be,
fun. You're saying
oh, it's probably going to be more fun. It's going to be less stress. Here's a question. What
you're
is
gonna
the,
pay yourself bulk price for that syrup.
I think it's just going to be for my family and my parents, really. But I'm
Yeah,
starting over so I can, work with guys like you. And I think it'll be fun to just start over and go back. Like my dad says, he says I took all the fun out of it.
yeah. No, yeah. It's like yeah, you get. I used to like making ROs, but I took all the fun out of it too. It's not fun 3 months out of the year anymore, but yeah, it
Yeah,
is
and
what it
you
is.
have a another business on the side for the off season, right?
Yeah, I sell aluminum docks, so
Well, also you have do some excavating and stuff.
oh yeah, yeah, I have a bunch of equipment. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not like a big for hire guy. My issue is I just have like a lot of properties and stuff, so I do a lot of work
I
like
got
for
you.
myself. Yeah, yeah.
That's a
So
good problem to have, Carl.
yeah, I guess so.
So, what is the latest with 8-inch membranes?
Yeah, I built so we run where I cook, we run an 8-inch that I built, and then I sold one to another guy who's been a customer of mine for a while. They work. They're good systems. My issue with those is like I don't have the time to make those and give the support I'm gonna want to give with them. So I'm not really anxious to get a lot of those big systems out there. I feel like there's a lot more issues that can come up, and there's a lot more skin in the game when they pay, $8,000 to $10,000 for an 8-inch RO system, and I'm not enough to be able to like travel somewhere and work on it and fix it. And I think that's kind of where the dealer model comes in, and it's a little advantageous to have the dealer model when you're pushing big systems like that because there's more people out there that can
And
work
local
on.
service,
Yeah.
local service.
So I'd hate to ship one to like Seattle and then have something break, and it's like it's not tangible for me.
Yeah, I forgot
It's not.
about a lot of those guys out there. I didn't even think about my friends out there in Washington, and we
Yeah,
should
there's a
go
lot of
out
guys out
there,
there.
Washington and Oregon. I could see your
Alaska, we can go
product
to
doing really
Alaska
well
too. I
for
saw a lot of
birch.
ROs to Alaska for birch. Yeah, yeah, and like those northern provinces too. Yeah, yeah.
So Jeff Scarta says, "What are you boiling on, Nate? A 2x6?" Says, "What size?" And you still thinking about putting all the 2x6s head to head? I'd love to do that. Um, I don't know if you have a dream squasher in your business, but they are the person that has the checkbook, and they typically say no when we just put in a huge boiler project. We just bought a new floor scrubber, all sorts of things that the business actually needs. So for
Right.
me to go out and buy like 3 2x6s, like they're going to change the locks on me at work if I go and spend money on things that aren't absolutely necessary. As much as I want to do it, and as much as I do think I will at some point do some head to heads, um, it's not going to be anytime soon.
Yeah, that's cool. No, we don't have
Ooh,
anyone like that, so I just have to control myself when I buy stuff.
here's a good question from Joe. He says, and that's who I'm going to meet, by the way. I'm sitting in Chicago Airport,
Nice.
flying to Minneapolis, and then Joe and I are getting up first thing in the morning. He's getting up really early, and he's got an hour and a half to come get me, and then we're going to drive around. I want to see some spouts being made on Tuesday morning because I fly out New Year's Eve. But we're going to go look at some things tomorrow. If we're lucky, we'll be able to head over to Toppling Goliath. I don't know. That's the number one rated craft brewery in America, and they're a customer. They buy barrels from us in Decorah, Iowa. But Joe's asking you about different membranes from Amazon versus a maple dealer. Elaborate, please. Is he teeing you up with
Yeah.
something here?
No, no, that's a good question. So it's like, you know, uh, in terms of RO membranes, like there is no RO specific membrane. Like there is no specific membrane for anything because that's not how like research and science works. So like when you're coming up with something to serve a purpose, you have all these different types of TFC, thin film composite membrane sheets, and you just make a bunch of them a bunch of different ways, and then you test those sheets to your application to see which ones give you the best results. So the bottom line is if you get a membrane on Amazon, that's just like a generic membrane sheet. It may or may not be the same as a maple membrane. I can tell you it isn't because I tested them. But that membrane sheet was made to process water at 80 degrees and do a pretty good job at it for most feed sources. When I like so I've been tailoring my membranes now over 8 years, and it's like I'm not designing membrane sheet when I get another batch of membranes. What I'm doing is I'm going to my membrane supplier. I'm telling them what temperatures I want to run it at, how long I want them to last before they foul, the different minerals that they're going to come in contact with, the recovery rates. Because like a lot of those membranes on Amazon are made for 15% recovery, where you're actually dumping like 85% of the concentrate and only making 15% of water. Whereas in the maple industry, we want to run them more like 50-50 so we can get a higher concentration. So all those different things change what that membrane sheet has to look like and how it has to be made so that it actually works in a cold environment at 4 to 8% sugar. And if you test out all these different sheets, they're all going to have different properties. Some are going to foul really quick, but pull a ton of water quickly. Some aren't ever going to foul, but they're not going to have the best performance. So it's all a big trade-off. You have to test 100 different sheets, pick the ones that work the best, and then take those sheets and mold those sheets together to maybe make a new one that works even better. So maple specific membranes that people are selling are thin film composite sheets that were tested and known to work well in the maple industry. I think we lost Nate because
No, you're on your own for a
Oh,
sec.
all
I gotta
right,
pay
cool.
my bill.
Yeah, Nate's got to catch his plane soon. So that's the difference between like an Amazon membrane and one you're going to get from like MES or RO Bucket or CDL. They've just done a lot of research testing different sheets that have already been developed for the last 50 years, and they found something that they feel works really good in the maple industry. So, single phase. Are there any single phase post ROs yet? And if not, is there any thought of single phase pumps on post? All the stuff we use is single phase. So like our small 60 gallon per hour, I think that's what you're asking, is a 110 volt. It's not even a split phase 220. It's a single phase 110 volt system. But yeah, that runs like it uses 10.4 amps at 110 volts. So most people can run that in their sugar shack. Joe Lander, in a series system, should the second one be different than the first? We run all our systems in series, so we don't run anything in parallel. All our systems run in series because it keeps the fouling down on the membranes. But you can run, you can run any membrane you want in series. So you can run like an 8 gallon per hour and then a 10 or a 400 gallon per day and a 500 gallon per day. It doesn't really make any difference, and it's not going to affect the output of your RO because these membranes, like a smaller membrane isn't restricting flow. There's no flow restriction in a membrane. So if you have a little one, then a big one, it's not like a pipe where it's going to slow the flow and then it's going to get bigger. Those membranes just pull water. There's enough space in there to flow concentrate forever. So it's just not going to pull as much water, but you're going to be able to have enough flux through that system to not cause any damage to the ones that are a little further down from it. So yeah, no, if other people have questions while we're waiting for Nate here, you can post them up and I'll answer them. But so yeah, this chat was supposed to be at 9, but we had to change it because of Nate's plane. So we started a half hour early. So if people are tuning in here like around 9 o'clock and you're wondering what's going on, we've been talking for a half hour. So
what I can do is maybe it'll stay on, but I got to get to my gate. If I take myself out, do you see anything on there where you can end the live stream on your end or exit?
Yeah, I can leave. So yeah, I can just
Okay,
leave.
yeah. If you leave, I think it'll end. So
Yeah, okay.
Carl,
Yeah, if people don't
behave
post questions,
yourself.
I'll just take off. All right.
You are now the moderator,
All right, sounds good.
and I'll catch you. And Joe, I'll see you in the morning.
All right, good luck. Yeah, so if anybody has questions, let me know. Yeah, I'll stay on for a couple minutes here, and if the chat dies down, I'll just kick myself off. So I'll look back here to some questions, see if anything happened. Need a dealer in PA? Yeah, again, not opposed to a dealer in PA. Any sales in New Jersey? Yeah, I had a sale in New Jersey a little bit ago. A lot of my New Jersey folks have camps somewhere, in like a different state, and they travel to it and whatnot. So that's a lot of where my New Jersey sales go to. Brady Noonan, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. Anytime people have issues, we try to get back to them right away. So. RO Bucket Workshop. Yeah, Jeff Scarta. So we're pretty bare bones. I don't even want to show you a video of what my space looks like here, but I run everything out of like a 50 by 14 garage space, and then I have additional warehousing outside that. So basically everything gets made in that space, everything gets shipped in that space, and everything goes out that space. So I have a daily USPS pickup and I have a daily UPS pickup, and then occasionally I'll ship something FedEx or whatnot, and I'll just have to drop it off locally. But yeah, we're pretty bare bones. We're not there's nothing to see. Nate wanted to come out and do like a live thing, and it's like if he does it, I'm gonna have to clean this place up because it'll be embarrassing to show people what this place looks like. But yeah, I don't waste a lot of money on frivolous things. So how are sales New Hampshire, Vermont? Yeah, Vermont's pretty big. You have a lot of CDL's real big in Vermont. CDL ripped my system off 3 years ago. So there's a lot of ROs being sold in Vermont that aren't coming from me, even like to the little guys. So but yeah, I sell a ton to Vermont. I sell a bunch to New Hampshire as well. I have a good friend in New Hampshire, who's bought a couple of ROs from me. So, how fast will the RO bucket run through 300 gallons of sap? Base setup. So the smallest bucket you're gonna get, $325, does 8 gallons an hour. So that's gonna be like a little small for 300 gallons of sap. But the nice thing with my system is, you can let it run all night. So you can just set it on a timer for like 12 hours, and you're gonna pull 48 gallons of water out by the time you wake up in the morning. But ideally, if you got 300 gallons, I like to think of it as you should be able to run what you have in 8 to 10 hours. That's like realistic, because if you can't do it in 8 to 10 hours, you're just going to be getting more sap in that time. So you're not going to be able to keep up with the throughput. So if you're not the type of guy that wants to be able to make it as quick as you boil it, and you still want to size it, get the cheapest one you can get and still size it to your setup. Pick something that'll process the bulk of sap you're going to get in like a 24-hour period in 8 to 10 hours. So 300 gallons of sap in 10 hours, you're going to want to pull, figure 150 gallons of water. So you'd want like an RB20 or something like that to pull 15 gallons of water an hour. So yeah, 12 volt or solar. So we're doing that now at trade shows because like I said, we're pretty cheap, and a lot of these places charge you for electricity. It's like, I'm not playing that game. So we use these 24 volt lithium ion battery packs, and we run the ROs off that just for demo purposes. But they'll run it for 4 or 5 hours if you get like a 6 amp hour battery, and then if you threw a 12 volt or 24 volt solar panel on that, you could keep that topped up pretty good. In terms of me selling batteries and stuff, at this point, it's just one more thing for me to order in stock, and I just don't really have the room for it right now. But there's a lot of stuff out there you could pack. And when people email me and ask me, I can certainly send you towards a setup that's going to work for you. 100 gallon hour evaporation rate, man, that's pretty quick. With any of the stuff we have, you're going to have to concentrate ahead of time. If budget's an issue, you might be able to get by with a single post, but that's only going to make 40 gallons an hour of 4%. So you're probably going to want to get like and that is expandable to a double, which is probably what you're going to be a lot happier with. That'll make 65 to 70 gallons of 4% an hour. And then you could just run it for 2 or 3 hours ahead of time, fill your head tank, and maybe just keep topping that up as you go. Yeah, automated RO where you can turn on my phone. That's one for Sap Spy. That's one for my buddy Jeff. He can do that. I'm not real big on like the computer science side of stuff, like programming and automation. I'd have to just hire all that stuff out. But I know a lot of my customers are, and they've made like some pretty cool stuff. If you go on my Facebook group, people post stuff that they've made, and people have come up with pretty neat stuff to automate the process. Ideally, like I always thought it'd be cool to make like a vacuum system with the RO, where you use the RO pump to draw a vacuum, and it's like an all-in-one where it can suck vacuum and then post-process it in RO, so everything going in the barrel is like 4 or 6% sugar. But it's like that whole process is kind of difficult. So yeah, Jeff knows it's a busy time of year. Nate had to leave. Nate has to get on a plane, so he's in airplane mode. Yeah, Jeff says, Jeff's from Sap Spy, everybody. So that Jeff Scardy, he's a Wisconsin guy. He does a lot of monitoring equipment, so he's a good guy. Sells time, yep. Yeah, upgradable. Thanks, Chris. So yeah, I don't know if anybody has any questions about my new filter unit you want to ask. Feel free to do that. Like I said, once we go dark here for like a minute, it's like we're cooking popcorn. If I don't get a kernel popped here, every 20 seconds we're gonna shut it down. So keep it going, or we can head out. Make sure I didn't miss anything. One question I do get a lot is like, should I plumb it in series or parallel? So I'll explain that quick in case people care. So the main reason you want to plumb all your ROs in series versus parallel is the way RO works is it uses liquid flow to keep the membrane clean. So the bottom line is you want as much running across that membrane as you can to keep it clean. And that's why like a lot of the bigger ROs use recirculation, which is just a pump that sends liquid from the bottom of the canister back to the top and keeps it moving. So one way we get around using recirculation in our ROs is we put all those membranes in series. So if you have 100 gallons of sap and it's going through one membrane, that membrane sees 100 gallons of sap. If you have 100 gallons of sap and you have two membranes in series, again, they're both getting 100 gallons of sap. If you put those in parallel, now each one is only going to see 50 gallons of sap. So you cut your flow across the membranes in half by putting them in parallel, which is like the worst thing you can do. It's really bad in terms of like following the membrane, slowing the flow down when you do that. So that's why you always want to put stuff in series when you plumb it. And that's why with like our RB5 with one membrane, you can really only run that 50-50. And when you get into the larger 3, 4, 5 membrane ones, you can dial them down a little tighter and get a higher concentrate out, because they're not as likely to foul because the flow rate is so much higher across that, because you have all those membranes in series, that you're getting a lot of flow across them even by dialing it down. So it'll keep it running without loading up with sugars and you won't have to rinse it and whatnot. Higher pressure pumps. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We're like our biggest deal with higher pressure pumps is like we're making these things quick with quick push connect fittings, and the limit on those is 150. And to get away with that, to get away from that, I should say, it's a lot of work. So like our bigger ROs, the single and double post, use all stainless plumb fittings. So we could technically run those up to 300 PSI. But yeah, I don't know. It's just not really something I want to get into. I think our sort of niche and our kind of game is that like we tailor to the hobby people, and I think it's just safer for everyone to use less electricity to keep the pressure down and to have simple systems that are really easy for like most people to take apart and put together. So I'm not really keen on like moving up into bigger stuff. I think like the bigger players, you know, the big company, the big 3 or 4, they do a lot better job of that than I'm going to be able to do. And again, they have the dealer network to service all that. So that's a big thing too. Like I don't want to put something out there that's going to be really hard to keep up with in terms of service, and then have that hurt my name down the road because, you know, these ROs aren't working. So can you add to the RB25 unit? No, that's really the biggest. So the RB25 is like the biggest one you're going to get with the 5 membranes. What we did with that RB25 was the next one up would be our 4040 membrane, the 40-inch membrane, and that uses 2 of the RB25 pumps. So, you know, I guess you could say if you wanted to add to the RB25, you could add another pump to it and then add more membranes on top of it. But at the end of the day, it's probably just cheaper to run another RB20 or RB25 alongside that RB25 unit. But yeah, but like we found with the 2 diaphragm pumps, they work really, really well together on that 4040 membrane, and they draw like very little electricity. So it's really advantageous for people that run a sugar shack, you know, without like a lot of electricity. You know, you could run off a small generator and whatnot. So Bissell's watching his Sapchat. I hope he's on airplane mode. He likes to do sketchy things, so I hope he's being safe. New Jersey, good. Yeah, not one of our biggest states, but we sell a lot. Like I said, the people that have camps and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Do they recover from freezing? Yeah, I always tell people don't let them freeze, but I mean, we have hundreds of people that freeze them every year, and most of the time there's nothing broken on them. What happens is like a push connect hose will just pop out and we'll have to reseat it. But you know, the weak parts of the system would be like the lower elbows, where water gets trapped, those freeze and crack, or like the pre-filter housing is usually the first thing to go. Sometimes you don't notice it, and the pre-filter housing will just explode on you one day because it's been frozen. So you got to watch stuff like that. Run through multiple times. Steven Smith. People might chime in here, but we say 6 to 8%. Once you get over 8%, it's just super, super slow. So like if you have an RB5, you're not going to get to 8. But if you have like the RB20 or RB25, those larger units, you know, you can push those 6 to 8% pretty easily. Especially because, you know, once you get up that high, a lot of water's out anyway, so there's not a whole lot of sap left, so it doesn't really seem as slow. But yeah. Temperature running. Yeah, Chris, yeah, you can run your RO cold. I mean, everyone's running these things. It's like we don't have control over the temperature. You know, water has such a high It takes so much energy to heat water that it's like it's not advantageous to heat water and then RO it. So we're ROing it at whatever ambient temperature it is outside. As long as it flows, you can process it. Ideally, 35 to 40 degrees is best because it's a good trade-off between flow rate and like bacteria growing in the concentrate once you make it. If you process it at like 50, 60 degrees, every 10 degrees increase in temperature, you're doubling your rate of biological activity. So it's like we're already worried about stuff growing in our concentrate, so you want to keep it as cold as possible. Yeah, like getting it to 60 degrees is just crazy. Like you'd never really want to do that. Also, another thing a lot of people don't realize is as temperature goes up, osmotic pressure also goes up. So it's going to make it harder to get to 8% because the osmotic pressure of the solution's higher. So even though it looks like you're pulling more water out, it's going to stop dumping water a lot quicker than if you're at a colder temperature. So yeah, heated hot, cold sap works fine. The biggest issue with cold sap is if there's like microscopic ice crystals in it, it'll sometimes plug up that inlet strainer that goes on the end, the little brown ones. It'll look like this. So this little screen will get plugged up with ice and you'll have to clean it off, or the filter itself, the polypropylene white filter inside can get all ice crystals on it. So you just want to be careful when like you have slush in the bucket, it'll still process it. You just got to make sure that it doesn't ice up on you. So those are the big things with temperature. Yeah. Yeah, if you've ever thrown like an immersion heater in a 5-gallon bucket of cold water, like it's not coming up to temperature really quickly. It's going to take a long time. So, all right, anybody else? Yeah, Brad Noonan had that happen. Yeah, I can touch base on I can talk real quick about all the major issues people have throughout the year. So like the number one question I get on a new unit is people don't put the push connect fitting in the bucket all the way, the yellow inlet tube, and that it doesn't suck any sap in, and they think there's something wrong with the pump or whatnot. That's like the number one question I get all year. The second would be these strainers plugging and people saying the unit's really slow. So if you're ever having like performance issues, pull the strainer off and then see how that works. But Nate, Bissell Farms, 46 people, nice. Yeah, this guy's saying he bought a big woods, and yeah, it's like I'm not really a big sales guy, but people will email me and say I have 700 taps. What RO should I get? It's like I come out of the gate right away saying we don't really make anything big enough for people like that. But but then I tell them their options. It's like I have a system that you don't have to watch, that you can literally run 24 hours a day all season. That'll pull an extra 20 gallons of water for $750, and it's like there's no pan upgrade that's going to give you an extra 20 gallons an hour for $750 that you don't have to add wood to and you don't have to monitor. So in that sense, it's like it's still a cheap upgrade in terms of what you currently have, no matter what you're running. So thanks, Chris. Good customer service. Appreciate that. Yeah, Tom, TDS monitors. Yeah, that's a good question. Well, it's not really a question, but a statement. So yeah, you can do a lot with a TDS monitor. So that's this. So at first, I started selling these just because I figured people would want a easy way, and I have a video on my website and YouTube and whatnot on how to test the TDS, the total dissolved solids, and their permeate water. So what this does is this tests conductivity. It tests how much current can be carried through your permeate water. And ideally, if there's no minerals in it, if there's no ions in that water, no current can travel through that through that water. So you should see values like 10% of your feed water. So if your sap's at 300 ppm, you dip this in, it'd say 300. Your membranes should get to 10% or less of that if they're still functioning properly. So that should be like, it should say 30. But all that aside, like these are, like I started realizing you can do a lot more with these. Like even though this isn't a bricks tester, you can use the ratio of your feed, your feed sap and your concentrate to determine what your Brix is, because if you double your sugar, you're also going to be doubling the ion concentration. So your TDS level should double as well. So like if you want to get a Brix meter, an inline Brix meter, they're like really expensive. They're like $800 or $1,000. These things are like $20 tops. And you can use that TDS value on the fly, plug it into your feed line and your concentrate line, and use the ratio of that to get a really good sense of what your RO is concentrating to, just by looking at the ratio of incoming TDS to outgoing TDS. So on your new filter system, do you have quick connect so it's easy to assemble reassemble? So we use a push connect on the outlet side that goes the outlet on the filter that goes to like the pan you're gonna bottle out of. But we use JIC stainless hoses, so that uses stainless hoses with JIC swivels. So it's easy to take apart. And since it's not under a lot of pressure, you can just hand tighten those most of the time. You don't have to put a wrench on them. But yeah, it's pretty easy to disassemble and reassemble. What we do is we take the filter unit, we just put a stainless pot under it, and then when we want to change it, we just put gloves on, like, and then spin the collar off, drop it down. You'll get like a cup of syrup out, or if you chase it with water, you'll just get a cup of like really diluted sap out. We add that back to our pan, and then reassemble it, put it back together, and you're ready to go. So it's pretty easy to do a filter change. I mean, it's a brand new product, so there's going to be a learning curve for people, but it's one of those things where I think if you use it one or two times, you're going to realize like it's super easy to sort of get the hang of. So yeah, TDS is a function of conductivity. So it's not telling you any organic molecules like sugars and whatnot. It's only telling you what ions are present, what like, so Na plus or Ca+2, calcium ion, stuff like that. Nice. Noonan used a new bottling unit. I'm currently caught up, so which is crazy because kids are home for Christmas break. But yeah, I'm currently caught up right now, so it would ship out Monday or Tuesday if you order an RB25. So yeah, even peak season, like last year, I never got more than I think 3 or 4 days behind like peak season last year, which is like crazy because we get a ton of orders coming in. Anything from anybody else? So we sell these meters on the website. I think they're like $8 or $10, but I haven't been real good at putting videos out lately either. I'm gonna start doing hopefully a little more of that. When this business was young, I was putting 1 or 2 videos out a month. But I just kind of feel like a lot of those videos are already out there now, so I got to come up with some new ones to do. But I do have 2 new videos on YouTube of our new filter unit. One of them is like a sort of how-to, and the other one is just a video of me using it. But yeah, Sapchat's great, Nate. I like it. I think you should keep it going. It's just gonna get bigger like everything else, start getting more people on it. But I'd definitely come back and do it again. See what I'm missing. Yeah, no selling. No. Nate gets himself in trouble here from time to time. So solar we got on. I think we got to everything. Yeah, going back to expanding the store, it's like I actually have like 1,000 taps here I bought from Middle Valley Maple, which is they've made, I don't know, millions of spouts. But they're in Vermont. They're a cool company. They have an injection molding company, but I do carry their spouts. I just haven't been good about getting them posted on the website. But yeah, I still carry bottles. We have the Maple Leaf bottles, 100 mil and 250 mil. What I learned about selling bottles is just a nightmare to ship them. So we're moving a lot of those by the pallet or by just individually, locally. But Yeah, we sell 6 packs of the bottles on the website. I kind of figured that was the easiest way to move them without them getting broken. So if you ship more than 6, it's just really hard to box them up and get them to where they need to be. So yeah, anyone that's still on, I see the numbers are going down, so we'll end this here pretty soon. But yeah, if you're not already on our Facebook page, you can just type in, go to groups, go to the RO Bucket Information Exchange, and you can join that. If you don't have a unit or you do, people post pictures of stuff they did, people ask questions, you get some tech support there. So, I can host a Sapchat anytime. Nice. All right, excellent. Thanks, Nate. Nate did the wonderful artwork for our Sapchat. If you see that on YouTube, he did that. So much info on here. Yeah, for sure. It's like, it's a good thing. There's not a lot of people. There's not a lot of people besides Facebook groups. There's not a whole lot of info being shared like for small guys, unless you go to like expensive trade shows and stuff like that. So, man, I'm not a good interviewer. I'm a good interviewee. But yeah, we have our Syracuse Maple trade show coming up January 10th and 11th. If you're in New York State area, that's the biggest one. I don't know. It's probably the biggest one in the Northeast, but I don't want to make anybody mad. But it's the biggest one in our area. So that's a good trade show. There'll be a ton of vendors there. We'll be there. If anybody wants to stop by and see us, we'll be selling stuff and whatnot. So. All right. Sounds good. I think we'll call it. Thanks, Mark Bergens. Happy New Year to you too. If anybody ever has questions or needs to reach out, my phone number is listed on the website now. If you go to like the checkout page, you guys can email me. You can message me through Facebook. Yeah, a bunch of ways to get in touch. So even if it's a weekend, I'll probably get back to you. So happy New Year's, everybody. Thanks for stopping in. Nate, thanks for getting this chat going. I think it was a great success. Hope you have fun in Minnesota with Joe and come back with some good spiles and spiles and smiles. That's what I hope you have. So RB25, yeah, most of the time we're going to be running those 50-50. So if you're, yeah, any single pass, we recommend 50-50. So if you're going in at 1.6, you're going to come out at 3.2. If you're going in at 2, you're going to come out at 4. Like I said, with that system, you can push it a little. If you're coming in at 2, you can run your concentrate a little bit slower than the water and get it to 5 in one pass, even 6 in one pass. A lot of people are doing that. So just remember, you're still going to pull 20 gallons of water an hour, but you're not going to make 20 gallons of concentrate. Because if you're making 20 and 20 still, it's still running 50-50. So you have to slow your concentrate down. You're still going to get the 20 gallons of water, but you're only going to make 15 gallons of concentrate. And if you want to higher bricks, you're only going to make 12 gallons of concentrate. So that's kind of the trade-off when concentrating past, the 4% that we lay out. So our estimates on flow rates, like what we put out there, are fairly accurate. Like we've been doing this for 8 years now, and we'd be getting a lot of flack if we were lying about our flow rates. If we say it does 40 gallons an hour, 90% of the people we sell it to are getting 40 gallons an hour. And if they're not, we can fix it over the phone. It's probably a little pressure adjustment on the pump or something like that. So rest assured, if you buy a system, it's going to perform, the way we say it's going to perform. Otherwise, we won't take care of it. So you can use those guidelines to get a system that'll work for you. Thanks, Chris. It says very informative. So, all right, we're down to 31 people, 32. Someone hop back on. They were missing us, I guess. All right, I'm gonna end it. Take it easy, everybody. Like I said, if you have any questions, let Nate know or me know. And thank you, everybody.